Chosen ones, you're not imagining it. Your name and picture was on a secret altar, not for prayer, not for blessing, for ritual, daily deliberate ritual. Your energy was mixed with others, your path scrambled, your purpose tangled, so you'd spend years carrying burdens that weren't yours, while someone else tried to walk your destiny. They weren't only trying to slow you down, they wanted you to quit, to doubt yourself so deeply you'd hand over your future voluntarily. The first thing they attacked was your roar, your voice, because your confidence, your willingness to speak and claim your territory, is the line between survival and true power. Let me paint you a picture. Think of a lion that forgot how to roar. Other animals would walk right past it. They wouldn't respect it, wouldn't fear it, wouldn't recognize it as the apex predator it was born to be. The lion wouldn't be called the king of the jungle anymore. It would just be Big Cat with no authority. That's what they wanted for you. They wanted you powerful but silent, gifted but confused, destined but delayed, and it was working for a while. You knew something was off. You couldn't put your finger on it, but you knew. You'd wake up feeling like you were supposed to say something, do something, build something, and by midday you'd talked yourself out of it. You'd convinced yourself it wasn't the right time. You'd decided maybe you weren't ready. You'd chosen silence over disruption. Here's the revelation that changes the game. Every day you were silent. Every day you held back. Every day you made yourself smaller. Someone else was at that altar working overtime. And they were getting tired. See, this kind of work requires energy. Consistent energy. Daily rituals drain the person performing them. They thought you'd break before they got exhausted. They calculated wrong. You were at celebrations. You sat at tables. You broke bread with people. You laughed with them. You trusted them. And what you didn't realize is some of those people went home and lit candles with your name attached. Some of those people were in the group performing these rituals. Not all of them, but enough. It's time for celebration. But not every celebration is for you. Some gatherings are traps. Some tables are altars in disguise. Some people who smile in your face are studying you, gathering information, collecting your energy so they can use it later when you're not around. You've been feeling weird after certain events, haven't you? Drained after certain conversations, exhausted after certain people. That wasn't in your head, that was real. While you were at these celebrations, while your name was on that altar, while confusion was being sent your way, something else was happening. Financial sabotage. Every time your income was about to rise, every time a deal was about to close, every time an opportunity was about to manifest, there was interference. Think of your money climbing a ladder, and someone positioned on that ladder, trying to snatch it on the way up, trying to intercept what was meant for you, trying to redirect your stream into their bank account. This is why deals fell through at the last minute. This is why checks got delayed. This is why you've been working 3 times harder than people around you, but seeing a fraction of the results. There was a transfer happening. One person sitting at the altar doing the work. Multiple people entangled in the effect. Your name wasn't the only one, but it was definitely there. Because despite everything I just told you, despite the daily rituals and the mixing of energies, and the financial attacks and the people at your table working against you, you're still here. You're still standing, you're still fighting, and there's a reason for that. You're unshakable, you're unbreakable, you're unmovable, and before you think that sounds like empty motivation, let me tell you why this is factual. You were built with materials they don't have access to. You were constructed with a foundation they can't crack. You were designed to withstand exactly this kind of pressure. Some people would have quit by now. Some people would have walked away. Some people would have believed the lies and accepted defeat. But not you. And you know why? Because there's a solid ground beneath you that wasn't built by human hands. There's a support network around you that operates in realms they can't access. There are people praying for you who don't even know why you came to mind that day. There are ancestors covering you. There are angels assigned to you. There's a whole infrastructure of protection that you didn't build but you benefit from. So yes, they sent confusion, but you have clarity that breaks through fog. Yes, they sent doubt, but you have a knowing that overrides questions. Yes, they tried to snatch your money, but what's yours will always find you. It might take a detour. It might arrive later than expected, but it will arrive. They're still sending things, unexpected things, things you can't see coming, things designed to blindside you. How do you fight what you can't see? How do you defend against invisible attacks? You don't need to see it to defeat it. You just need to keep moving, keep speaking, keep building, keep roaring. You've been picking up on things in the spirit. You feel shifts in the atmosphere. You wake up with heaviness you can't explain. You go through your day with a weird sensation that something's happening, but you can't identify what. That's not paranoia. That's sensitivity. You're picking up on the candles being lit, the chants being spoken, the rituals being performed. Some of those thoughts running through your mind aren't yours. Some of those doubts didn't originate with you. Some of that fear was planted. You need to learn to distinguish between your intuition and their interference. Your intuition will always guide you toward your purpose. Their interference will always try to guide you away from it. And this is where we will arrive in the next 7 days. This is where everything I've been building toward comes into focus. Something is shifting right now. In the next 7 days, you're stepping into a level of mastery that makes all of this irrelevant. You're about to become the master of yourself, the master of your mind, the master of your response to everything being thrown at you. Someone who's been doing rituals against you for months or years is about to learn a hard lesson. It doesn't matter how long they've been chanting. It doesn't matter how consistent they've been with their spell work. It doesn't matter how much energy they've invested in your downfall. All of it only made you stronger. Every attack built your immunity. Every curse added another layer to your armor. Every ritual performed against you actually worked for you in ways they'll never comprehend. They thought they were tearing down your foundation, but they were stress testing it. They thought they were breaking your spirit, but they were building your resilience. They thought they were delaying your destiny, but they were training you for the weight of the crown you're about to wear. If you recognized yourself in this message, hype this video to guide other chosen ones to this truth. What changed is you stopped filtering your voice through fear. What changed is you remembered you're a lion, and lions don't tiptoe. You're untouchable now, not because nothing will be sent your way, but because nothing that's sent will stick. You're operating on a frequency that's incompatible with low-level attacks. You've been upgraded, you've been fortified, you've been positioned, and here's what happens next. The people doing the work against you are going to fall back. They're going to take a pause, not because they want to, but because they have to. They're exhausted. They've been performing these rituals daily and seeing zero results, actually worse than zero. They've been watching you get stronger. They've been watching you rise despite their best efforts to keep you down. They've been watching their weapons bounce off you like you're made of something they can't penetrate, so they're going to retreat, reassess, wonder what went wrong, and while they're falling back, everything that's been happening in the spirit realm because of what was sent toward you, it's all going to move back too. It's all going to reverse. It's all going to lift. You're going to wake up one morning and feel lighter, think clearer, move faster. The more you roar like you were designed to, the more fear you put into anything that tries to come against you. Your voice is your weapon. Your confidence is your shield. Your refusal to shrink is your armor. And when you put all of that together, when you step into the fullness of who you were created to be, you don't just survive the attacks, you dominate the battlefield. Now let me tell you what they never understood. Let me show you the fatal flaw in their entire strategy. They thought they were fighting you, but they were actually fighting something so much bigger than you. They were fighting destiny. They were fighting purpose. They were fighting divine assignment. You can't curse what God has blessed. You can't stop what the universe has already set in motion. You can't derail a train that's on supernatural tracks. Every day they spent chanting your name, they were actually reinforcing your purpose. Every ritual they performed strengthened your resolve. Every curse they sent built your immunity. They thought they were tearing you down, but they were training you. They wanted to break you, but they built you. They wanted to stop you, but they prepared you. Think about how strong you had to become to survive this. Think about the discernment you had to develop. Think about the boundaries you had to set. Think about the faith you had to build. All of that came from pressure. All of that came from attack. All of that came from being targeted by people who wanted you destroyed, and now you're standing here. Stronger, wiser, sharper, more focused. You're not the same person you were when this started. You've been refined, tested, proven, and everything that was meant to destroy you actually prepared you for what's coming next. When you speak now, you're not speaking from theory, you're speaking from testimony. When you encourage someone, you're not quoting something you read, you're sharing something you survived. When you tell someone they can make it through, you're not guessing, you're knowing. Because you made it through, you're living proof that altars don't determine outcomes, that rituals don't override divine will, that attacks don't cancel destiny. Your roar is louder now because you know what it's like to lose your voice and reclaim it. Your confidence is deeper now because you know what it's like to doubt yourself and choose belief anyway. Your fire is hotter now because you know what it's like to feel it dim and then watch it reignite stronger than before. This is someone who had their name on an altar and turned that altar into a platform. This is someone who had spells cast against them and used that warfare as training for spiritual authority. This is someone who was supposed to quit and decided to roar instead. Remember, it wasn't just your name on that altar. There were multiple people, multiple energies being twisted, multiple destinies being derailed, which means when you break free, you're creating a blueprint. When you roar, you're giving others permission. When you refuse to quit, you're showing others they can survive too. Your victory isn't just personal, it's generational, it's communal. You breaking these chains breaks them for your bloodline. You stepping into your authority opens doors for people you haven't met yet. You refusing to be silenced gives voice to people still finding their words. This is bigger than you, but it starts with you. It starts with you deciding that whatever was done on that altar doesn't dictate what happens in your life. It starts with you choosing to roar even when your voice shakes. It starts with you stepping forward even when you can't see the entire path. You don't need to see the full path to start walking. You don't need all the answers to take action. You don't need to feel confident to act confident. You just need to move. You just need to speak. You just need to show up as yourself and watch everything else align. Every time you choose courage over comfort, every time you choose your voice over silence, every time you choose to stand instead of shrink, you're dismantling that altar. You're breaking the ritual. You're reversing the curse. You're taking back every piece of energy that was stolen. Your name is coming off that altar. Your picture is being removed from that ritual room, and it's being placed exactly where it belongs, on a throne, in a position of authority, in a place of honor. You're writing a different ending than the one they planned. You're creating a different outcome than the one they manifested. You're walking into a different future than the one they tried to curse you into. That future is loud. That future is powerful. That future has you roaring so loudly that everyone who tried to silence you has to cover their ears. That future has you so confident that people who used to intimidate you now ask for your guidance. That future has you so solid that attacks just slide off. You're untouchable, not because you're unreachable, but because you're unmovable, not because you're invincible, but because you're resilient, not because nothing can hurt you, but because nothing can stop you. Pain is temporary, purpose is permanent. So go ahead and roar, chosen one. Speak your truth without apology. Take up space without asking permission. Claim your territory without wondering if you deserve it. Rule your empire without fear of who's watching. Because that's what you were designed to do. That's what you were built for. That's what every single attack was preparing you for. They thought placing your name on that altar would end your story, but it was just the beginning of your greatest chapter. They thought the rituals would break you, but they broke open the shell you were hiding in and revealed the giant you really are. They thought the confusion would derail you permanently, but it taught you to trust your inner compass. They thought mixing your energy with others would dilute your power, but it showed you exactly what's yours. Every weapon they formed didn't just fail. It backfired, it boomeranged, it returned to sender, and now you're standing in the aftermath of a war you didn't start, but absolutely finished. You're standing on a battlefield littered with broken spells and failed curses, and exhausted enemies who finally realized they picked the wrong one. Your name was on an altar. Daily chants, specific rituals, consistent attacks designed to make you quit, doubt yourself, lose your mind, forfeit your destiny. But here you are, still standing, still roaring, still rising, and now you understand why nothing they did could stop you. You were protected by something they couldn't access, built with materials they couldn't break, destined for something they couldn't prevent. So wear your crown, sit on your throne, rule your empire, roar your roar, because what God has ordained, no ritual can revoke. What the universe has assigned, no altar can reassign. What destiny has written, no spell can rewrite. You were chosen before you were born. You were equipped before you were attacked. You were victorious before the battle started. The person who placed your name there didn't do it once and walk away. This was methodical. This was planned. Every morning they woke up and your name was part of their routine. Like someone brushing their teeth or making coffee. Your name became part of their daily practice. That level of consistency tells you something important about how threatened they felt by you. People don't spend that kind of energy on someone who doesn't matter. They don't invest that kind of time in someone who isn't a threat to their position. They don't dedicate that kind of focus to someone who's insignificant. So even in their attack, they were confirming your value. Even in their attempt to diminish you, they were acknowledging your power. They saw something in you that scared them enough to work against you every single day. They didn't just write your name on a piece of paper. They got your picture. They needed a visual representation of you on that altar. They needed to see your face while they performed these rituals. That's personal. That's intimate. That's someone who knows you well enough to have access to your image. Someone who's been close enough to capture you visually. Think about who has pictures of you. Think about who's been around you long enough to have that kind of access. Think about the circles you've trusted, the spaces you've occupied, the gatherings you've attended where photos were taken. Someone in those spaces, someone in those circles, took your image and used it for purposes you never consented to. This is why you felt violated in ways you couldn't articulate. This is why certain relationships started feeling off, even when nothing obvious had changed. This is why you've had dreams about specific people that left you feeling uneasy. Your spirit was picking up on the violation. Your intuition was screaming that someone was using your energy without permission. Your subconscious was processing the spiritual theft that was happening while you slept. The mixing of energies wasn't random. They specifically chose whose energy to blend with yours. They looked at your gifts and looked at someone else's gifts and decided to scramble them, to confuse you about what's yours and what isn't, to make you chase talents that don't belong to you while ignoring the ones that do. You've been feeling pulled in directions that don't make sense. You've been trying to force skills that don't flow naturally, while neglecting abilities that come effortlessly. You've been comparing yourself to people and wondering why you can't do what they do, not realizing their energy was deliberately tangled with yours to create that exact confusion. This is sophisticated spiritual warfare. This isn't amateur hour. This is someone who understands energy manipulation. Someone who knows how to create gridlock in your progress by making you question your own identity. By making you spend years developing in areas that were never your assignment, while your true calling sits dormant, waiting for you to remember who you actually are. And the purpose behind all of this, to get you so far off track that by the time you realize what happened, you'd be too old, too tired, too discouraged to start over. They wanted you to wake up one day in your future and realize you spent decades building someone else's dream while yours died from neglect. They wanted you to look back with regret instead of looking forward with excitement. But that's not your story. That's not how this ends. You're becoming aware right now. You're waking up right now. And awareness breaks spells. Consciousness dismantles curses. Understanding reverses rituals. The moment you see what was done, you reclaim the power to undo it. Let me tell you what else was happening on that altar. They weren't just chanting your name. They were speaking about specific outcomes over your life. Outcomes designed to limit you, to cap your potential, to put a ceiling on your growth. They were declaring things over you that contradicted what the universe already declared before you were born. They were saying you'd struggle financially while the universe already ordained abundance for you. They were saying you'd stay confused while the universe already planted clarity in your DNA. They were saying you'd remain hidden while the universe already scheduled your moment of visibility. They were trying to override divine programming with human manipulation, and for a season their words might have created some static, some interference, some delays, but here's what they didn't account for. Words spoken against the divine will have an expiration date. Curses spoken over blessed people have a shelf life. Rituals performed against destiny eventually collapse under the weight of their own futility. You're entering the season where their words lose power, where their rituals hit a wall, where their daily practice becomes daily frustration because nothing they do is working anymore. You've moved into a dimension of protection they can't penetrate. You've elevated to a frequency they can't reach. You've stepped into an anointing they can't touch. And watch what happens when protected people start walking in their full authority. Watch what happens when awakened individuals stop playing small. Watch what happens when someone who's been under attack realizes they're actually the weapon. You don't just recover. You don't just survive. You dominate. Now let me address the food situation because this is critical. When your name is on someone's altar, you need to be strategic about what you consume and who prepares it. Food carries energy. Food absorbs intention. Food can be a delivery system for things you don't want in your body or your spirit. You've probably noticed certain meals leave you feeling strange, certain gatherings drain you more than they should, certain people's cooking makes you feel off even when it tastes fine. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. Your body is a temple, and it knows when something entering it isn't pure. Your spirit is sensitive, and it detects contamination before your mind can process what's wrong. This doesn't mean you live in fear. This means you live in wisdom. You don't need to interrogate everyone who offers you food, but you do need to trust your gut. Literally, if something tells you not to eat something, don't eat it. If something tells you to decline an invitation, decline it. If something tells you to remove yourself from a space, remove yourself. The same sensitivity that picked up on the altar work is the same sensitivity that will protect you from consuming anything meant to harm you. Your intuition is sharper now because it's been in training. Every attack you survived trained your discernment. Every setup you avoided strengthened your awareness. Every trap you walked around educated your instincts. Let's talk about the entities that were sent, not to scare you, but to educate you. Because when your name is on an altar and rituals are being performed consistently, sometimes spiritual assignments are given. Entities tasked with keeping you confused, with fragmenting your focus, with making you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. You've had moments where your mind felt scattered for no reason. Moments where you couldn't think straight, even though nothing external changed. Moments where you felt like you were going crazy but couldn't explain why. Those weren't mental health episodes. Those were spiritual intrusions. Those were assignments being carried out against your consciousness. But here's what breaks those assignments. Here's what sends those entities back to wherever they came from. Your voice, your declaration, your refusal to agree with confusion. The moment you speak clarity over yourself, the moment you declare sound mind over yourself, the moment you command your peace back, those assignments lose their grip. You have authority that you haven't been using. You have power in your mouth that you've been underestimating. You have the ability to shift atmospheres with your words, but you've been whispering when you should be commanding. Your voice doesn't just communicate. Your voice creates. Your voice legislates. Your voice enforces. So when you feel that confusion trying to creep in, you speak. When you sense that heaviness trying to settle, you declare. When you notice that scattering trying to fragment you, you command your mind to come back into alignment. You don't beg. You don't plead. You don't hope. You enforce. The reason they needed your picture wasn't just for identification. Pictures capture a moment in time. Pictures freeze an expression. Pictures hold energy from when they were taken. They wanted you stuck in whatever state you were in when that picture was captured. They wanted to freeze your growth, lock you in a past version of yourself, keep you from evolving into who you're becoming. You were being studied, analyzed, energetically downloaded. They were gathering information while pretending to celebrate with you. They were collecting data while acting like friends. They were preparing their next ritual while raising their glasses to your success. This is why you left that event feeling more drained than uplifted. This is why you went home and crashed even though you barely did anything physical. This is why you woke up the next day feeling like something was taken from you. Because something was. They extracted your energy right there in that celebration space, and you felt the withdrawal without understanding what happened. But now you understand. Now you see. Now you know who smiled while stabbing. Now you recognize who celebrated while cursing. Now you identify who toasted while poisoning. And with that knowledge comes power. The power to never be caught off guard again. The power to recognize energy vampires before they get close enough to feed. The power to protect your presence from those who want to exploit it. You're not going to these gatherings the same way anymore. You're not entering these spaces with the same naivety. You're not trusting these circles with the same openness. Not because you're bitter. Not because you're closed off. But because you're wise. Because you're discerning. Because you're strategic. Wisdom doesn't close your heart. Wisdom guards it. Discernment doesn't make you paranoid. Discernment makes you prepared. Strategy doesn't make you cold. Strategy makes you calculated in a way that protects your peace while you pursue your purpose. You've watched people prosper with ideas that sound like yours. You've seen others get promoted with strategies you shared. You've noticed opportunities go to people less qualified. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't bad luck. That was spiritual robbery happening in real time while you tried to figure out what you were doing wrong. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were doing everything right in a rigged system. You were planting seeds in soil that had been salted. You were building momentum on a wheel that had been sabotaged. The problem wasn't your effort. The problem was the interference you didn't know existed. You start speaking over your income, declaring over your opportunities, commanding your increase. You start blessing your work before you do it, covering your deals before you make them, protecting your contracts before you sign them. You engage spiritually with your finances instead of just engaging practically. And when you do that, when you marry your natural efforts with your spiritual authority, you become unstoppable financially. What was being stolen gets restored. What was being blocked gets released. What was being redirected comes back to its rightful owner. You don't just recover, you overflow. You've been carrying a weight that wasn't yours to carry. You've been fighting battles in your mind that originated in someone else's ritual room. You've been explaining to yourself why things have been harder than necessary when the real explanation was happening in a realm you couldn't see. But awareness is the beginning of your liberation. Understanding is the first step of your freedom. Knowing what was done gives you the power to undo it. You're not a victim of this altar. You're a warrior who just discovered where the enemy was hiding. And now that you see the source, you can dismantle it. Your life is about to get easier in ways you can't predict right now. Doors that were stuck are about to swing open. Relationships that were draining are about to dissolve. Opportunities that were hiding are about to surface. Money that was blocked is about to flow. Clarity that was clouded is about to sharpen. Everything that felt like you were pushing a boulder uphill is about to feel like you're being carried by wind at your back. This shift isn't gradual. This shift is immediate. The moment you fully accept that your struggle wasn't about your inadequacy, the moment you completely reject the narrative that you weren't good enough, the moment you absolutely refuse to carry shame for delays that were caused by sabotage, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your frequency rises, your atmosphere clears. You're about to experience what it feels like to move without resistance, to build without interference, to grow without someone actively working to stunt your progress. You're about to remember what your natural pace actually is when nothing is dragging you down. You're about to discover what your real capacity looks like when your energy isn't being siphoned. You're not the same. Your voice carries weight now. Your presence commands attention now. Your energy shifts rooms now. Your words create movement now. Your declarations enforce reality now. You've been forged in fire that was meant to destroy you, and instead it refined you into something unbreakable. So when you roar moving forward, it's not the roar of someone trying to prove something, it's the roar of someone who knows something. You know you're protected, you know you're covered, you know you're untouchable, you know your name came off that altar and landed on a throne. You know every weapon formed against you has already failed before it was even created. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Your story doesn't end with you discovering you were under attack. Your story begins with you realizing the attack was your training ground. The altar was your preparation. The rituals were your resistance training. The confusion was your clarity boot camp. The financial blocks were your abundance orientation. Everything meant to stop you was actually positioning you. And now you're positioned, now you're ready, now you're equipped, now you're unleashed. The throne is calling your name louder than that altar ever did. Destiny is shouting your name clearer than those chants ever could. Purpose is declaring your name stronger than those rituals ever attempted. You belong to something greater than anything that tried to claim you. So rise, chosen one, not from defeat, not from victimhood, not from damage. Rise from dominance. Rise from victory, rise from completion, rise from the throne that's been waiting for you to remember it was always yours. Your name was on an altar, but altars bow to thrones, and your royalty, whether anyone performing rituals accepts it or not,